all the different aspects of your life and the people in it are representing parts of you. The deeper you go in your understanding, the more you're able to understand, like, oh, I needed a sibling like this, or I needed to meet a person like this and to have a child like this. All the details matter.
Living for tomorrow, even though it's never promised. Jersey boy, repping the players like Tim Thomas. World in my pocket, 2 wands up on the mirror. Got the heat, this the final shoot like Tyler Hero. Pop said I'm a god, I don't never need a hero.
What's going on, world? It's your boy Gemini Brown here, back with another episode of Nalo Kicking Knowledge. Today, we'll be discussing more ancestral astrology, more of how you can use your own chart as well as the child of your chart or someone else you're close to better understand the significance of that relationship. So let's get into it. So I'm happy to announce that I have a new service, and this new service is dedicated to this topic. I'm going to offer what I call a family reading or consultation. The significance of this reading and consultation is that it can be you and any member of your family, and this really works well for parents and their child or someone and their parent. What I'm going to do is showcase the significances of the relationship between the said individuals. This is not a synastry reading, but I will be reviewing and taking into account any significant synastry aspects. But the overall point is to bring more awareness to the significances of the said relationship. So for example, if you are a Gemini sun and you've given birth to a Gemini moon, and then we'll look at where that falls in their chart, where that falls in your chart, and give overall advice and awareness on how to better understand this said person and things of that nature. Okay, so not a synastry reading, but taking into account the varying aspects, which I believe can be much more helpful. Being that this is new, and I really want you guys to take advantage of it, I'm only offering this for $100. Okay, whether it's the reading or the consultation, it'll be the same price. So feel free to tap in if you're interested, and I look forward to connecting. So let's get to the topic. So, as I stated before, it's going to be considered a family reading, and you can use any member of your family to gain a better understanding of your astrological connection. The more you grow in life, the more you realize everyone in my life or everything in my life is a reflection of myself. As above, so below, as within, so without. So all the different aspects of your life and the people in it are representing parts of you. The deeper you go in your understanding, the more you're able to understand, like, oh, I needed a sibling like this, or I needed to meet a person like this and to have a child like this. All the details matter. So one of the things in the reading that I'll cover is the significance of the both individuals' sun signs and the trade-off that is happening in one another's chart. And what that means is, like, if one person is an Aries sun and another person is a Virgo sun, where's the Virgo house? Where's that sun falling in this sad person's chart? And where is this sun falling in the other person's chart? And based on the relationship and what we're breaking down, there are going to be different significances to have. So if you're Virgo rising with a Scorpio sibling and like a Scorpio sun sibling, that sibling sun goes into your third house. That's more significant to that particular Virgo rising than it is to a Virgo rising who has a sibling who may be a Gemini sun. All of these different things have hold different importance. This is perfect for a parent and child. Okay, either way, whether you're the parent or whether you're the child, this will allow you to gain more understanding. So like I said, one thing we'll check, like, what's the significance of you having this Aries sun or this particular sun sign within your chart? So with that said, I'll just go through here and let's just think about this in the sense of your child being the sun sign. All right, but this isn't limited to this. I'll give you the further details of other things I cover, at the link to the reading. So check that out. If you've given birth to an Aries sun, we'll definitely want to see what house that falls in for you. But just within the expression of you having a child who is an Aries, this child is reflecting to you the need for more individuality. So an Aries sun, someone can be born as an Aries sun to parents who may not have achieved as much individually as they would have liked. So I'll give you an example. Let's say there's a parent out there, right, or both parents, that they had their child within a marriage, but and they're still together, but they felt for themselves this marriage, although significant and good for them, was something that they had to sacrifice parts of their own individuality to be balanced or have a compromise. So then they produce a child whose mission or significance is to experience the full potential of their own individuality. Okay? So that's one way having an Aries sun can play out. Taurus sun. If you have given birth to a Taurus sun, this Taurus sun is bringing the need for security or a desire for more or possibly less security. So Taurus is a sign of possessions and wealth and consistency. The child that is produced, like I said, is going to reflect a pursuit for more of that or maybe less of that. The next thing here is like a Taurus sun is a great recipient of values being passed down or traditions being able to be kept alive. So this part of having a Taurus sun could be to liberate the family financially. So this becomes something that they really want to focus on. On the opposite end, let's say this Taurus sun in their own chart is a 12th house sun. It could be that the parents were very material minded, and now this child is like, there's more to life. I'm focused on some other things here, right? So it can come to financially liberate the family. They can experience more or seek out more stability. So if this is like a Taurus in the 4th house, that'll give more insight there. Okay. If you give birth to a Gemini, I know this well. Geminis, you're here to speak the truth in your family. Okay. You're here to say what needs to be said. You're here to display or put into action the karma of previous generations through your skills and your application of intellect. So how you show up in the world is a representation of the skills forged by people in your, karmic tree. Okay. So if a Gemini becomes a writer in life, maybe they've had ancestors who are very imaginative, or maybe even writers themselves, teachers, things of that nature. I've noticed an interesting thing here, like truly, and I'm kind of like product of that. I found that Geminis tend to be born to parents compatible with their energies to some extent. So you'll have a lot of air signs, right? Aquarius, Libra types give birth to Geminis, also mutable kinds. Okay. Let's say both your parents as the Gemini sun are mutable signs. more than likely, if you're born a Gemini sun or another mutable sign, you're coming in to push things forward karmically, okay? And wherever that Gemini ends up is going to give more insight into that. Cancer, very interesting archetype here. So giving birth to Cancer sun can be one that for the parents themselves, this is the thing to focus on. Now, those said parents, how they go about creating a foundation and structure is going to affect upon how the Cancer individual sees those things. So a Cancer sun can be born in order to experience more emotional fulfillment. And that, like, so the parents' relationship, they have their own emotions, but then they bond through the raising of the child. So to make this a little more clearer, when two people have a Cancer child, it's meant for those two people to not necessarily have to focus emotionally on each other, but pour the emotion into the child. Okay, so it's giving them like a focal point. And this is even more significant if you're the firstborn. And this kind of extends to, like I said, this could be the Cancer sun and this could also be Cancer moon. All right, but it's represent a need to put the emotions gathered somewhere and condition and raise the child based on that. And then it's interesting too, because giving birth to a Cancer child, you'll become more aware of your own trauma, or you'll become more aware of how you benefited from particular things you may not have realized. So a person having parents giving birth to a Cancer, they may not have realized why the way their parents parented them, why it was so necessary until they have the said child. Okay? There's a lot there when you give birth to a Cancer type. Moving on, Leo. When you give birth to a Leo sun, this is similar to Aries. There's a part of the ego that needs to be fulfilled. So this would be really important to kind of assess the ego of the parents themselves. So a lot of cases, like for a Leo sun, the father may have been important. He may have actualized some form of his individuality. Now the child born a Leo grows up within their ego is a shadow or a offspring of the ego the father cultivated. Now, how the child goes about dealing with it, the aspects in the chart position will reveal more. Maybe they're able to express more ego or express the ego in a more balanced way, right? Maybe they're able to find fulfillment in other areas in which the parent wasn't, because they were so focused on their form of individuality. And then, of course, if you give birth to a Leo, this is one where you got to know your kid is here to play the field. Not saying they're going to be promiscuous or a player, but they're very much interested in love, romance, and all that good jazz. Virgo. This is a funny one, because as far as a Virgo sun goes, in my meditations, I've meditated on all of these signs and positions. There was a time, because I'm a Virgo moon and Virgo rising, so I understand the energy. And I was like, like, I get the gist of Virgo energy, but like, being a Virgo sun is a lot of work. So when we apply this in a karmic sense, it's one of two things. So maybe your parents are hard workers, and you can, and this is going to be said for anyone with like good aspected Virgo energy, particularly in the sun realm. You're benefiting from the structure, everything that your parents are already doing. So if they're committed, if they are workers, this is a lesson that is easily conditioned into you, which for the Virgo sun person, this becomes your advantage in life. You know the value of hard work. Okay, it's not necessarily saying you gotta learn. So this can be these are the Virgos who can find success early on, and that's typically coming from parents who have already put in the work, but not necessarily got to reap the rewards or benefits that came from that. On the other hand, you could, if let's go with, let's say, Virgo in the second, Virgo sun in the second, something harsh aspects. Let's just throw the harsh aspect to Saturn. This is one where your parents, or particularly your father, they didn't put in enough work. They skipped a lot of steps, or in another sense, they may have felt oppressed or identify with the lower aspects of Virgo, like, oh, it's never about me. I'm just a servant. Things are so tough. Things like that. So there's a lot that can be revealed in that regard. But you can't, if you're the Virgo sun, you got to tap into being grounded and committing to something. Because committing to something that's going to evolve you, and that at the same time, maintaining a humility. Libra. This one is actually rather simple, and I know this one well. Like, I could not kind of know an individual, but their sun and their moon, when the Libra sun specifically, it tells a lot. The person born a Libra sun is, in their life, the significance is exploring relationships, finding balance, finding their importance, achieving a certain harmony, right? Or even a certain ideal. The Libra sun gets born to parents who need to understand what may have worked in their relationship or what may have not worked. The Libra child, within their formation of relationships, how others receive them, how they experience it, is going to be colored by lessons, more than likely like lessons the parents needed to learn. So I give an example. If there's a Libra sun that isn't very communicative, like in general, or communicate, it's hard for them to express in relationships, between the parents, there wasn't strong communication. But on the opposite end, say there's a chatty ass Libra, more than likely they came from parents, whether the parents were together or not, or they grew up seeing them together, the connection between the parents was fluid in that way. So if you're a Libra and you have intimacy problems, your parents probably had intimacy problems. If you're a Libra and, like, let's say you expect everyone to be a particular type of way, that's also signifying that your parents really got along well, and there's an ingrained belief in others of how it should be. Very interesting with Libra. It kind of sets the tone for a lot of this psychically if you think about it deep enough. Scorpio. I like this one. If you give birth to a Scorpio, it's very likely that one of the parents did not explore their darkness, their dark side, their shadow, to a full extent. On the other hand, this can be representative of, let's say, a father who at the time may have been involved in secretive activities, illegal activities, all of that. For the Scorpio sun individual, the things you are tempted by, or maybe you feel like a compulsive need, this could be for more sex, more, desire, or just even obsessive things. There's a parent that probably didn't want to deal with or dive into those things. And if I'm being real, sometimes karmically, that's how karma works. Sometimes a parent will sign on to deal with some shit that the next generation won't have to deal with. But then there's a trade-off. There's some shit you're going to deal with they didn't. So, for example, my generation, Pluto in Scorpio, a lot of us are either, let's say, maybe witnessed drug abuse, okay, or maybe we didn't. For that generation, it's like, if your parents weren't addicts or anything like that, this is like a thing where it's like you're not aware of the reality of it, so it becomes a lesson you gotta learn. So you may struggle with, addictions or certain secret desires. If it's the opposite, where let's say you're a crack baby or you grew up in that time, parents that were around, it's still a part of your karma. Okay, it's still something, but it's more of an awareness, like, oh, they did that, so I kind of have more of a choice, like, oh, if I do that, I could end up like them, so I may just refrain from that. All right, but it is one where there's a karmic balance in occurring regardless. Either you're exploring it, they didn't explore it, or they may have explored it too much, or is representative of where they were at that time. Sagittarius represents, so giving birth to a Sagittarius child is representing that either one of the parents played up towards their sagginess, or that you will experience, and this is where your Sag house and their chart ends up. There can be Sagittarius children who benefit from their parent being travel-minded, highly philosophical, engaged in some type of truth. If you are a Sag son, and you have a natural affinity for, let's say, ancient wisdom, this could have been because naturally that was always around you, or you came from a family in which there's an open-mindedness that kind of gives you the reins to explore. On the opposite end, we then have those who may have been closed-minded. So in this modern age, and your culture and stuff really matters too, naturally, there are going to be certain Sagittariuses that come from families that were much more closed off, okay, culturally, so they may not have interacted with much of the world or other people, where that's a Sag individual, it represents you being able to explore that and enjoy the multicultural aspect of life, okay? All right, Capricorn. Interesting one here. Context definitely matters for this. So Capricorn, just like all the earth signs, you can be meant to be the breadwinner. For real. Like, I often have these thoughts where it's like, man, I wonder in the future when people are well versed in astrology, and let's say that you may have grown up in poverty or whatever, I wonder if, like, they'll see one day, like, oh, I'm giving birth to a Capricorn son. Oh, and their son is in the 2nd or 11th house. And know that, like, oh, the potential for this child is to be financially well off one day. It's not a guarantee, but that's the potential. So in the future, I think we should really look at this and understand, like, okay, this person is definitely going to be career oriented, and if they're career oriented, naturally they're going to be financially successful, things like that. People give birth to Capricorns as a way of really moving the family lineage along, whether it be professionally, whether it be financially. And put it like this, the work that the Capricorn sun child does in this life liberates the previous generation. So regardless of what that plight was, the Capricorn sun's child ability to play this role has a huge karmic impact. So like I said, mom and dad could have been immigrants. They could have, felt oppressed in life, but this Capricorn sun child is a chance at a better life, a chance to be a better them. Aquarius, very similar to what I said in the Aquarius moon. This is someone who's going to be different. This is going to be someone who's going to be different or feel different. So physically, that's one thing, but I want to apply this to, like, the Aquarius sun at one time, this is like, I'm Jamaican. So let's just say you're born in Jamaica, raised around Jamaicans, but you in the anime, or you in the all things Asian culture. What that showed, karmically, in regards with like your parents, their relationship was different. They may have bonded over something that wasn't typical. or they had a common interest, and that could have been a group, right? They could have been a part of the same group, the same church. But the Aquarius sun gets born to speak towards that or be different in that way. All right. Pisces. I love this one. So remember, Pisces is everything. I'm going to keep Pisces short so you really could ponder on this. Pisces sons are typically born to two types of people. Remember what the 12th house and Pisces represent. A father or a parent that was completely removed from the world. They could have been homeless. They could have been mentally ill, right? So there's a parent that represents like a certain sorrow, right? So the person born in Pisces can be born, like they're being born with that a part of them, but they also have the potential to do more and to overcome all that was experienced. The next type of person that the Pisces sun typically gets born to is someone who was idolized or reached a level of idolization within life, or even themselves held a high level of idolization. So this could be like a parent who's really religious, be really spiritual or out there, or shit, even a part of like a cult or something. They idolize something. There's an idealistic nature to the person. So then the Pisces sun comes in with that idealistic nature. They could be a great artist, or they can be the complete opposite of the parent who was removed, where they're like more Virgo like than Pisces. Because there's a need like, oh, I got to be grounded. I got to be efficient. I got to get things done. But they have all the capabilities of doing so. So remember, Pisces is a shapeshifter, so that energy could play out a lot of different ways. But what I want to harp on here with the parent who was idolized in some way, I give an example. So I noticed this trend where Black men who may have at one time, let's say 1960s, 1970s, been in the armed services. If you are a Black man back then, and I could even say other type of people, but Black man, I'm a Black man, so it stands out to me. You were a different type of Black person. Because of your training, you had the benefits that came with the army, which will give you, or armed services that would give you a little leg up in life, right? You would probably become disciplined, and then you're going to take that influence of how you were raised and pour it into the kid. So you may have a low tolerance for them messing up, but them being born a Pisces is like they're going to display the shadowy aspects of what you disassociated from. So to make this very simple, this could be a Pisces sun can be born to a police officer, or someone who's like, hey, I'm by the book, no nonsense. But this Pisces sun represents the imperfection that exists within all of us. So they may gravitate towards situations that go against, the things that the parent idolizes. So I can keep going with that, but I want you to ponder on that. So a Pisces sun is born to let like the family know no one's perfect, or to really just deal with the imperfections that exist. All right. So I hope that made sense. This was fun. Feel free, chime in. Let me know your experience. Check out my website, GeminiBrown.com. Check out this new reading. Check out everything else I got, my book, Astrology of the Matrix. Until next time, peace.